Perfect. Thank you for the warm welcome, Christina. And it's great to be back to do another CELPIP lesson for the ILAT crew. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. So I'm Brandy. I'm an online instructor for the CELPIP test. And I'm here today to do a focus lesson on how important it is to develop our vocabulary and grammar skills, because they will support a stronger test performance in absolutely every aspect of CELPIP. So whether you complete the listening, reading, writing, or speaking tests, yes, there are strategies unique to each skill, but vocabulary and grammar are the foundational skills. And I'd like to dig in right now, starting with the vocab. And I've got three sort of key ways that we're going to strengthen those skills. And we will do some practice activities as well to put these skills into good use today. So the first one that we're going to do is to guess the meaning of unfamiliar words that we might encounter. As you study from home, it's easy because most of us have our cell phones nearby and all we do is look up the meaning of an unfamiliar word. And that's fair game when you're studying. It might be one way to help you expose yourself to new vocabulary. But on the actual test, you will not have access to any online support. It's basically the reading or the listening passages in front of you. You have to understand the overall meanings to do well on the test. So we need to develop our strategies to guess the meaning of these unfamiliar words. And we'll do that in just a moment with some practice looking at context clues. And another element of vocab development and test performance is to look at how synonyms are going to be matched together. When you're reading a passage or listening to an audio clip on CELPIP, quite often the language included there might mean the same as vocabulary in the questions and answers, but the wording itself could be very different, and most often is. So our ability to match up the meaning of different words, we call them synonyms, or perhaps paraphrased ideas, matching those meanings is going to allow you to understand better what you're being exposed to and answer more questions while on the test. Last but not least, today, what I wanted to do is touch on some speaking and writing activities. I do have some real CELPIP test questions for each part here. And we're going to look at how using our own precise vocabulary will help us earn a better test score. We'll draw in some grammar elements too as we go along with the vocab. So starting with what I call a foundational skill, it's all about understanding context clues. So a context clue is simply a clue within a sentence or sometimes a passage, a short clip, that either the reader or listener will use in order to guess the meanings of words that they're not quite sure about. And we can understand meaning through a variety of techniques, but we're going to focus on these three that you see in front of you here. The first activity we're going to do as a group is I've written a little excerpt for you, a little paragraph, and we're going to read through that paragraph together. And I've picked out a couple of vocabulary words that might be a little higher level for some of us. We're going to really examine what the person within this passage is doing. What actions do they complete, or what words do they say that allow us to fully understand more of the meaning within? We're also going to look at ways to identify when words in a passage are actually defined for us. On your test, you're not expected to know every single word, but sometimes, even on CELPIP as well, you will be able to tell when a word that you don't know the meaning of is being defined. So the test is essentially doing the work for you. You just have to recognize that you're looking at a definition. And last but not least, I think whatever we read or whatever we listen to, we should be making personal connections as we go. So if you have encountered a similar situation in your own life, I want you to put yourself in the mindset of the person or people that you're reading about or listening to, because it's going to allow you better how they might feel in the moment, or it might help you understand why they reacted as they did, and so on. So we're going to start off. This is not a CELPIP passage, but this is a little paragraph I wrote to give us an opportunity to look at the meaning of some words here. So I don't know the age group of all of us online today, but I think most of us would have at least heard of a woman named Oprah Winfrey. So what I'm going to do is read out loud this paragraph all about Oprah's accomplishments and achievements in life. And we're going to pick out two vocabulary words to define as a group. I can't tell if you're using your phone at home to look up these words. I'm going to ask you not to, so we can practice decoding these new words as we go. And we'll see how you feel about that. So the first word is entrepreneur. And I think a lot of us might have heard of this word and loosely understand what it means. But what I'd like to do is sort of build a simple definition of this word precisely based on the actions of Oprah. So I'll read it to you now. And as I'm doing that, feel free to type into the Zoom chat here now what you believe in your own words an entrepreneur is. So we read here, Oprah Winfrey, a successful entrepreneur, rose to fame when she left her job as a news anchor to become the host of her own immensely popular talk show, The Oprah Winfrey Show, which debuted in 1986. She also launched O, the Oprah magazine, and founded Harpo Productions and OWN, the Oprah Winfrey Network, allowing her to produce and distribute films and other successful TV shows. Winfrey is a self-made billionaire who built a media empire by controlling her media content and diversifying her business ventures. Okay, so entrepreneur, in very simple terms, I've already got Patty and Delia in the Zoom chat suggesting, first of all, it's a person, and that is key. An entrepreneur does refer to a person. We know that because we're learning about Oprah Winfrey here. And it's somebody that doesn't just own the company, as Carolina is saying. It's somebody who basically builds up or creates a business of their own. Yeah, so there's a very fine distinction. That's why I say most of us have the sense that an entrepreneur is somebody that sort of creates this company, sure, right? But that's just it. They don't just own the company. They don't just work there. They actually create it. So when we examine all of the different business ideas here that Oprah Winfrey got into, it's all because she launched these products herself. So if we wanted to, and Lalita is saying it's someone who does their own work to earn an income. I'm glad you mentioned income because that's the other part of it. And when we're trying to guess the meanings of unfamiliar words, sometimes it's okay just to have a general sense. So if we just look at entrepreneur as loosely somebody who basically builds a company, then that's enough, I think, to understand. But there's a really implied deeper layer to this. And if we think of Winfrey herself having left a successful career as a news anchor to venture into all of these other businesses, it takes a big risk, right? So you're earning money, sure, but it's usually at the risk of putting your own money into that company to build it up. And if it fails, it fails. You don't have anything to fall back on. So that's sort of the deeper meaning as we read into all of the achievements that she's done. And we have a good opportunity as well to examine some other words. So we know that Winfrey built up and launched these different media content areas on her own, taking financial risk, we can assume, to do so. But what does it mean to diversify her business ventures? We'll think of the ventures as the actual TV networks and magazines and business elements, I guess. But when she diversifies her business ventures, can we together try to just create a simple definition in our own words that would define what this word meant for somebody that really wasn't sure? How would you do that based on what we've just talked about? Yeah, I really like this. I love the ideas coming into our Zoom chat. So expanding businesses in other fields and then exploring different areas and diving into those other like lots, hands in pots. That's an idiom. We have our hands in many pots. I don't know if you've heard that before, but that's exactly what happens. And a successful entrepreneur usually does just that. They diversify. So it has to do with a good variety of products. And precisely in this case, we're looking at hosting a talk show, creating television networks, producing a magazine, etc. So there's just such a variety of different products. So if one of those products doesn't go so well, we have other ones to fall back on. Okay, so again, reading and vocab often builds the picture as you go. We start off loosely with what the entrepreneur is. It's the person we're learning about. And as we read, we're able to understand the big picture and also pinpoint certain words that maybe are a bit tricky for us. So we're going to use these skills we've just talked about, guessing the meanings of unfamiliar words based on how they're used. I'm going to apply that now to an actual CELPIP listening test. So this is a small excerpt of about 10 seconds. I'm not going to play the full clip, but this is going to be taken from a part 2 listening. And what I'd like you to do simply for now is to listen to this part of the conversation. You'll hear a man and a woman talking. And I'd like you to infer, which means to guess, the meaning of the word consoling based on the actions of these two people. And there's a third person they talk about. So your job is to try to define in your own simple vocabulary what this word consoling means based on the way it's being used. So let's listen now.
Hi, honey. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was really bad.
That's okay, dear. I haven't even started on dinner yet. Jason failed his driving test this afternoon, and he was pretty upset, so I've been consoling him for the last little while.
Okay, we'll stop there just for a moment. We will continue on to do some questions. But just in case the listening isn't as strong as your reading skills, I'm giving you an opportunity to look at the word consoling. I've circled it for you so you can see how it's being used. And can we just try to very loosely define what that word means? We can assume, I think, that the man and woman in this conversation are probably husband and wife. And the fact that the woman's just come home, I think, from work, the man's getting supper ready, and they're talking about Jason, I think we can assume Jason's probably their son. So we know that Jason has failed a driving test. And so the man, presumably the dad, is consoling Jason. So with all of those context clues, with the actions and the words of everybody involved, all three people, even Jason, who isn't yet talking, how would we define what this word consoling meant? And I love the words in the Zoom chat. Yeah. When you're getting your own mind around new vocab, make it simple on yourself. Pick a word that you know the meaning of and attach it to this new one. So comforting or soothing, offering emotional support, that is exactly how you would define this word. And we would have to understand these words as we're listening in this case, because when the questions arrive after the audio has finished, we have to understand the context of the whole situation to answer well. So we will continue on with this conversation, but just before I play the next part of it, I wanted to remind you again of those synonyms. So synonyms are words that mean either the same as or very similar meanings, one to the next. So I've got 3 examples here. We could say, I shut the door or I close the door, and the meaning is the same. We could use the word small or little, and those 2 words mean roughly the same. Something is easy or something is simple, and so on and so on. On CELPIP, because it is a language test, you're going to be challenged to recognize the meanings of different words. They won't be word for word the same, but the meanings will be similar. So I'd like to continue that same conversation between the man and the woman, talking about Jason's failed driving test. And you can take notes if you wish to today, if that's helpful. I'm not going to turn this into a note-taking practice, but simply understand what they're talking about and get ready to answer a CELPIP test question based on matching synonyms. So you'll hear something that people are saying, you'll see different language in the answer choices, but the meaning is the same. So let's listen first.
Oh no. Well, it's pretty common to fail the first time. He shouldn't take it so hard. Is he in his room? I should go talk to him.
He just took the doggo for a walk. Yeah, the kid does take things pretty seriously. He said he almost ran a red light and hit the curb on a right turn, though. He was so nervous this morning. He was practically sweating when I dropped him off at the testing office.
Okay, and that's as much as we need to hear. Now, in your listening part 2, the questions will be read out loud to you, just so you know. But for ease of a practice today, we'll just have the question on screen. It says, how did Jason feel before he went for his test? So you have 4 choices, and only one of them is ever going to be correct. So was Jason tired, confident, worried, or excited before he went for his test? I'll give you about 5 more seconds to answer. I think this one's pretty straightforward. Your listening test parts 1 and 2 would be the easiest parts of your test, by the way. And then the test continues to get harder as you go. So I'm glad we're all jumping into the Zoom chat box with the right answer. Yeah, Jason feels worried, and there's probably a couple of obvious ways you would have chosen this answer on your test. First of all, word for word, this is what you heard the man say towards the end of that clip. The man flat out says, Jason was so nervous this morning. He's practically sweating when I dropped him off at the testing office. So when you look at your answer choices, of all 4 words in front of you, the only one that is remotely close to meaning of nervous would be worried. Nervous is completely different from tired, confident, or excited. So that's one way to go about answering questions on the test in either reading or listening, is matching up the meaning of these words that you're using. I think another really easy way, especially in this situation, is once again to connect personally. So if any one of us has ever taken a test, it doesn't have to be a driving test like Jason had, but any test we've ever had in grade school or what have you, just think about how you might have felt right before that test. You know, were you nervous? Were you worried? Were you confident? Hopefully you're confident. But I think a lot of us would be a little bit on the nervous side as we sit to write a test that's important to us. So if you have had that experience yourself, imagining how Jason might have felt is going to put you in his mindset. And even if you missed some of the vocab you were listening to and taking notes about, just thinking of this logically and looking at your answers might push us towards the right answer. So I think language learning really focuses on a variety of skills coming together in tandem in order to answer specific questions on a test. And if you're just reading for pleasure in the real world, same thing. We will encounter words we don't know, and we build the picture as we go through. same as if you're listening to a news report, and so on and so on. And Ayush is saying you're nervous for CELPIP. Exactly. The CELPIP is a high stakes test that is quite expensive. You want to do well on it. So, of course, before you take this test and as you sit in the testing room, you're probably nervous. So choosing an answer like this on the test is also very logical, I think. Okay, let's just practice a couple of personal connections. I think these ones are fairly straightforward. These are just examples I wrote. They're not CELPIP related, but they illustrate that same skill that we're looking at. So the word refrain, I simply wanted us to figure out what that word meant based on context clues, but also on your own personal experiences taking an exam. So if the instructor in an exam room says to you, please refrain from using your phone during the exam so everyone can concentrate, how would you define the word refrain as it's being used specifically here? So it's a word you've probably heard before in instructions like here, but how would you define it? What's a synonym for the word refrain? And everyone in the chat box is saying avoid doing it, don't use or don't do it at all. Basically, keep yourself from doing it. Yeah, all of those make absolute sense. So in general terms, when you're told to refrain from doing something, it just means don't do it. Stop yourself from doing that. And of course, in this situation, it's the cell phone. We're not allowed to use it at all in an exam room. So once again, if you've ever taken an exam, or even if it's a grade school or high school classroom, most instructors that I know of, at least in my own personal experience as a student and as a teacher, we don't allow cell phones for this very reason. They can cause a lot of noise and distract others. And of course, you're not allowed to use them to look up answers on a test. So making that connection also helps us identify the meaning. And the reason I chose the word refrain is because it can mean something completely different depending on the situation. So let's now define it as it relates to this example. This one says the song's catchy refrain repeated 5 times, so the audience could easily sing along. So I want you to think for a minute about, if you're a music lover like me, you listen to a lot of music, think about the way a traditional song is structured. We're told here that the refrain is repeating many times through the song. So that's a huge clue. Think of a song that you enjoy listening to and think about the repeated part. Would that help you at all try to define what a refrain is here in this situation? Clearly, it relates to music, has nothing to do with stopping yourself from anything, right? Yeah, so Delia's got some interesting words. You're talking about the melody or the chorus. I think the refrain is slightly different than that, but you're on the right track. The melody the chorus would be right. I'm thinking of the word verse. Yeah, the verse is the lyrics of the song, and there are usually 2 or 3 verses anyway, kind of like the paragraphs of the song. But the part that repeats, we do call it the chorus, Delia. You do have that right. It's like the hook, as Patty's saying. Yeah, so that little part is usually a line, or sometimes it's a couple of lines that are word for word the same. So it's the same tune, it's the same wording. And you'll hear that multiple times. And that refrain always comes right after that main verse part that you hear. And that's the part that usually we learn first and sing along. So once again, it's recognizing how these words are being used in completely different situations. And if you are able to think of examples in life of songs you know, it's going to help you recognize or understand the meaning a lot better. So we try to do that as we encounter listening or reading activities, CELPIP and the real world, as I said. Let's move on to definitions. Definitions are helpful, but when the vocabulary gets higher level, sometimes it's hard to understand that the writer is actually trying to help us out by defining these words. So the word in question here is syndication, high level word. And you might not have heard this word before or not be too clear on what it is at first, but as soon as you see language like this, syndication occurs when you know that this word is basically going to be defined for you. You might even see some examples if you're lucky. So we want to really notice these signal words that tells you, just pay attention, I'm going to tell you what syndication means. And in this case, we're told that syndication occurs when content like popular TV shows, radio programs, podcasts, or graphic novels is sold to many different stations or news sources, so it can be shared with a wider audience. So that's quite a formal and lengthy definition, but when we just try to paraphrase that in our own language, we walk away, I hope, understanding that it's basically when we sell material. It's either published or it's broadcast by numerous stations, and that's done specifically to increase viewership, more eyes on the product. Can any of you think of an example of a television show? Maybe it's you stream on Crave or Netflix or Apple TV, or maybe you have basic cable. I actually do myself. Can you name me one example of a television show right now that you're watching that is syndicated, meaning it is located on a variety of streaming platforms or even different television networks? We're trying to now connect personally to this with some examples to just really grasp what syndication is all about. Yellowstone's a great example. So is The Office. So is Friends. Friends is a great example. Even though that sitcom was from the 90s, it is still a rerun all across the globe in multiple languages. That's probably the best example I can think of a show that is syndicated, and it's made millions for everybody involved, right? Stranger Things is another very common example, Zaid. Has anybody ever watched? I included graphic novels in this definition because there was a show called The Walking Dead that was about a zombie apocalypse, clearly fictional. But it came out a good 12 or 15 years ago, and there have been at least 4 different TV shows that have been spun off. And I happen to really enjoy zombie flicks. So that's one that comes to my mind. It's maybe not one that all of you would watch. But yeah, comic strips, like the Archie comic books. Has anyone heard of Archie? He's been around longer than I've been around, and I just had a milestone birthday. And his comic books are still being sold at grocery store checkouts. So again, very old, but very strong examples of syndicated material that just keeps going, and lots of different generations and eyes are on the product. Yeah, now the Babysitting Club Fair, I think, is a book series, is it not? I used to teach elementary school, and I had that whole series in my classroom library for my grade 3 and 4 students. And that's going back late 90s, early 2000s. So yeah, you've all got it. The Good Doctor is another good one. It's no longer running, I don't think, but it was on TV for many years. So when you can think of your own examples, it personalizes the learning. It's hard to memorize definitions like this to understand the meanings of new words. But when you see how the word is used and defined, and then you grasp onto personal examples from your own life, the next time you see this word, it's going to be much easier to understand. And you might even be able to produce it yourself, which would be ideal for writing and speaking. Okay, last definition, and then we're going to apply these to some reading passages on CELPIP. This one is about a dingo. So it says, a dingo is. The moment we see this word is, it tells us, it signals us that the dingo is being defined. So if you don't know what a dingo is, we need to pay close attention because the author will now tell us. So a dingo is a wild dog with a sandy colored coat that is found in Australia. Unlike domestic dogs that are kept as pets, dingoes sometimes hunt in packs for prey and howl rather than bark. So the takeaway there, if you wanted to simplify that down, simply a dingo, it's a wild dog, and it's just more aggressive than our household dogs at home. That's what a dingo is. Okay, so again, always be on the lookout for language like this that tells you the definition is about to be shared with you, and it's going to help you understand on a deeper level. You can apply the skill anywhere, of course, but I've chosen an example or an excerpt from a Reading Part 3 CELPIP test. Some of you might be familiar with this exact passage, actually, as it's from one of our free practice tests on the CELPIP website. So I chose it partly because you can access this test on your own later to complete the whole activity, but it just illustrates beautifully what we're talking about here. So this is the first paragraph of a 4-paragraph passage taken from a real CELPIP test. And it clearly is about something called a narwhal. We start off by saying the narwhal. That's not a super common vocabulary word. So you might panic at first when you see this because you might not know what a narwhal is. But then you can be confident again because the author is telling you what a narwhal is. The moment we see that word is, generally speaking, the definition follows. So we read here that the narwhal is an endangered type of whale. Okay, so it's a whale. And as we just skim a couple of lines down, I see another good signal word. The narwhal means corpse whale. So that's sort of just the definition or where the word comes from. So I would include that as part of my understanding of a definition of a narwhal. A corpse, by the way, is a dead body. And right below where it says corpse whale, we're told that the color of these narwhals are these mottled dark gray colors. So no surprise there. And it's grim, but a corpse or a dead body would be gray in color, wouldn't it? So that all comes together in that way. Okay, and of course you would read on. We won't take the time to read this whole passage today, but I wanted to show you how recognizing definitions can be incredibly helpful to save you time when you're answering questions. So for those of you that maybe aren't so familiar with the structure of a reading part 3 on a CELPIP test, most of my regular students, I do a lot of webinars each month on my own CELPIP Zoom channels and so on. So many of my own students really struggle with reading part 3 because what it's all about is reading for information. You'll have 4 paragraphs and they're all identified with a letter. We're just looking at letter A, but there is A, B, C, and D. And then you've got 9 statements on the right-hand side of your computer screen. And you're looking at those 9 statements now. The trick is you have to read each statement at a time, identify what the details are. What is that statement all about? What are the key words? And then you have to match the meanings talked about there in one of those 4 paragraphs. Okay, and the one that I wanted to point out, this is not one I've ever done actually in a session with students before. It's statement number 2. When we're looking there, it says narwhals are also referred to as death-like. So when you're reading that through, I mean, every statement's about a narwhal. That's a given because the whole passage is about a narwhal whale. But when we see language like this, are also referred to as, it sort of goes part and parcel with that introduction or that sort of definition of what a narwhal is. You have 2 strategies to match this to paragraph A. You can do it as in when you skim read the passage first, quite often we recognize what each paragraph talks about. And if you've already read paragraph A, as we started to do earlier, hopefully you're remembering that the definition of the narwhal is right there. And when you see the wording in question 2 saying narwhals are referred to as death-like, you might simply remember to go back to paragraph A and see if you can find evidence of matching. If your memory isn't as good as that, and that's okay, not all of us have that kind of learning style, what I want you to do is think about how a piece of writing is even structured in the first place. If there are 4 paragraphs, a good author worth their weight is going to define what the whole focus of the passage is all about right in the opening. So because this whole passage is about a narwhal whale, it would make sense if it's written well enough that the author would have given us the definition of what the narwhal is in paragraph A. So either way, it's coming to the conclusion that if this statement is there, it's probably discussed in paragraph A. So you would turn your attention to paragraph A, and this is where those synonyms and those paraphrased ideas start to match up. So statement 2 says, narwhals are referred to as death-like. And when we look at paragraph A, referred to as has the same meaning as means. And in the statement, it says death-like. And in paragraph A, corpse whale. Corpse is a dead body. So you're matching the meanings there to the meanings there. And A actually is the correct answer for this part of the test. So as I said earlier, all the strategies we talk about, whether it's looking for context clues, identifying definitions and examples, matching synonyms, paraphrased ideas, you can see how literally all of those examples came together very nicely to be able to quickly identify what the answer would be here and so on. Yeah. So Delia, the way that I teach this, and again, I won't spend a ton of time on reading part 3 today. The way that I teach it is to go through the passage first, take about a minute, and identify what the main topic is for each of those 4 paragraphs. And I actually write down the topic on a piece of paper. So since we're reading up here about like definition of a narwhal, and we also get in paragraph A some of the physical characteristics, I'm noticing that in the bottom. On my paper, I would say probably write down the letter A. Beside that, I might write the letters D, E, F, which stands for definition, / physical, or what they look like, or something like that. And you would come up with the title for each of those 4 paragraphs. So when you have that outline in front of you and you see statement 2, and you see the language, oh, narwhals are referred to as, looking back at your outline, you realize, ooh, paragraph A defines what a narwhal is. I'm going to start there. So that's kind of the approach. It takes a lot of practice, as you might imagine. This is an intermediate level text, by the way. So if you're looking at that from CELPIP terms with the scoring, I would say people doing really well with part 3 and 4 are likely working at about a CLB 9 to 12. So that's where we're at right now for level of skill. Okay. But again, it's the same strategies. That's what I'm trying to stress. It's whether it's an easy part 1 or a more advanced level part 3 or 4, it's those same reading skills that are still helping you out. You might not get all the questions right, but you'll certainly get more of them correct, I believe, by practicing these skills at home. Yeah, good question, by the way. Okay, can we practice those same skills now of recognizing new meanings of words? We're going to up the ante. We're going to get a little bit harder for you. The practice listening activity that you heard earlier today was from a part 2, relatively beginner level. We're now at part 4. So there are 6 parts altogether, and the test gets harder as you go. So think of your part 4 as just past the halfway point. We're easing towards that more intermediate level, I would say. So again, I'm going to chunk this audio clip down into 2 parts for you as we practice our listening skills with the vocab. Part 4 on CELPIP is a news report. So you'll hear either a man or woman's voice talking to you and giving you an update on a current event. So before we actually answer one of the CELPIP test questions, what I'd like us to do is focus our ears on the word prohibition. You might know what this word means already if you listen to the news a lot. That word comes up in the news a lot. But I don't just want a simple definition, that's part of it. I want to know specifically from this news clip what is being prohibited. So listen first and see if you can answer that in the chat box. I also will show you the transcript once you've heard it. So if you missed it while listening, you can still read it. So we're sort of practicing both skills here. So here we go. Let's listen for that word prohibition.
The local health authority has posted no swimming signs at Lake Marvelous. The swimming prohibition has been issued in addition to the existing ban on fishing in the lake, which was announced last year. Michael Smith of the Chamber of Commerce noted that the prohibition comes at a bad time because the summer is just starting and many local businesses depend on tourist spending.
Okay, that's just the first part. The conversation continues and I'll play it for you soon. But for right now, and here's the transcript of the audio that you just heard. You won't get the transcript on your actual test. I need to say that, but we will use it now as we practice. So the word prohibition was used twice. When you hear a word repeated more than once, that is a clue that it has to be important. So I mentioned that now. It was used twice. So Delia has correctly identified that there is a swimming and fishing prohibition, but what is a prohibition? Let's really break that down with using our own words if we can, keeping it really simple. So you've given us the examples, right? So swimming and fishing, according to this, are both prohibited. But what does that mean? Aha, Zaid's got a great word there, forbidden. Yeah, forbidden, don't do it. Like as simple as we can get it, prohibition just means you cannot do this. You are not allowed to do this. Full stop, not allowed. And in this precise example, it's swimming, first of all, that has been prohibited. That's the first thing that we've been told about. And you're on to something there when Delia says it's a ban from doing something. I was just about to point out, funny you should say. Oh, sorry, prohibition means no swimming. But the ban here that they're talking about, the ban on fishing in the lake, ban is a word that means something very similar to prohibition. And again, connecting to this in our personal lives, if you ever listen to the news reports, I'll give you a very practical example. I know Christina is focused in Toronto. I live in Vancouver, but I'm guessing most of us are currently in Canada. In the summer times nowadays with climate change, we get lots of forest fires, which is really sad. And usually, at least out here in British Columbia where I live, there's almost always a ban on campfires in the summer months. You are not allowed to have a campfire when you are camping in the forest, just in case somehow you burn the forest down. So again, just exposing yourself to different stories around the world and listening to the news, you might already have realized that's what a ban means. And my point is, if you don't know prohibition, that you hear the word ban, it's sometimes the language that is used to connect ideas together. So there's a prohibition on swimming, but there's also a ban on fishing, we're told. And you notice that transition says in addition to, and that word, this is your grammar tip of the day. Transitions like in addition means we're talking about very similar meanings or similar examples. So always be on the listen or on the lookout if you're reading for words that mean the same. You might not know what one word means, but if you know what the other word means, and you're able to connect the dots and recognize that they must have pretty similar meanings based on how they're being told to us, and that's another way to really develop your vocab. So this whole news report is setting the stage for us that not allowed to swim, not allowed to fish. Both those activities are prohibited at Lake Marvelous. So that's what we know for now. What I'd like to do is continue on with the remaining portion of this news report. This section is just a little bit longer, but continue to listen. And then I'm going to give you 2 different CELPIP questions that we're going to answer based on the entire passage as one. So here we go. You can take notes right now if you wish to, or simply try to understand the material as we go.
The health authority posted the no swimming signs as a result of several dead fish washing up on shore. A health authority spokesperson explained that they usually close beaches due to a high level of bacteria, which is generally due to sewage being discharged directly into the lake. About 100,000 Canadians get sick each year from swimming in polluted waters. They can suffer inflamed eyes, itchy skin, and even infection. However, because of the color of the water, blue-green algae is suspected. Almost all lakes have blue-green algae, but it can increase in shallow, warm, slow-moving lakes and become a serious problem because of toxicity. Until they do further testing, the health authority won't know for sure what the problem is. Meanwhile, there's no reason for alarm.
Okay, lots of big words there. But here's your first question. And by the way, starting from listening part 4 to 6 on the real test, this is where you actually do start to read the questions yourselves. They're no longer read out loud. I just thought I'd mention that. But question 1, question 1's an inference. The question says, it is likely that. And when we see the word likely, that's a vocabulary signal word that tells us that of these answer choices, none of them were mentioned specifically by the news reporter. So what that means is we have to fully understand the entire story about prohibition of swimming and fishing, etc. And based on that evidence, we have to select the answer choice that just makes the most logical sense. So of these 4 choices, which one makes the most sense? Is it A, more signs will need to be posted saying no swimming? B, other lakes are also polluted, not just Lake Marvelous. C, swimmers are already sick. Or D, tourists will avoid the area altogether. There's only one answer, actually, that makes any sense at all. And we'll see if you get it. Ooh, this is a tricky one. I don't see the right answer yet in the Zoom chat. I will just state that out loud as a fact. It's not B. I will show you the transcript in a minute, so it'll be easier. But yeah, this is partly why I wanted to give you a more intermediate level, just to really test us. We all handled part 2 very well, but part 4 is where it really starts to increase. Okay, a lot of us are now answering D, and you're absolutely correct. Yes, this is the answer that makes the most sense, and I'll show you where we got that from. So you may have taken notes, but if not, I'll show you. This is back to the first paragraph that we've already looked at together. And right at the very bottom of that first paragraph or part of the news report, we've already learned that you're not allowed to swim or fish at Lake Marvelous. And then somebody Michael Smith, he works at the Chamber of Commerce. He's saying he's worried, it looks like to me, because he says this prohibition comes at a really bad time. Summer's just starting, and all these local businesses depend on tourists coming to spend their money. And we're left pondering that. Michael Smith doesn't come out and say, oh no, tourists aren't going to come anymore. But we have to put all those pieces together and say, well, if you're a tourist going to a summer destination like a lake, if you're not allowed to swim there and you're not allowed to fish there, you probably just won't go there. You'll probably book your vacation somewhere else where you could swim and fish if those activities are enjoyable to you. So that's where that idea comes from, right? It's the only one that really makes sense. Tough one. Inference questions are always hard because you have to rely on logic and reasoning and read between the lines to put it together. Okay, let's do the second question. So now we know what the word prohibition means, which is great because that's what the question says. The prohibition was motivated by. Now, this answer was directly stated in the second part of the audio clip. We were told directly what created the signs to go up saying no fishing here. Is it A, the appearance of dead fish, B, recent water quality tests, C, complaints by swimmers, or D, reports by fishermen? Okay, I didn't hear anything about fishermen, so I hope nobody's choosing D. So far, so good. Nobody has chosen D. I frankly don't recall hearing any complaints about or from swimmers either. I don't recall that. I did take, of course, I always take notes when I listen. That's not something I wrote down. I don't think it's C either. So we're left between A and B. The appearance of dead fish or recent water quality tests. And you're all divided as well in the Zoom chat. So let me give you the answer first. Those of you saying A have it right. And I'll show you exactly where that detail came from. And this one's easier because it's directly matched. It's almost word for word the same. So your vocab is not the issue here. The issue is you're given so much information in one go, and just a combination of the higher level vocab all the way through sometimes makes it challenging for you to pinpoint where the details are coming from. But yeah, right at the beginning of that second portion of the clip I played for you, we are told that the reason those signs went up saying no swimming is a result of several dead fish washing up on the shore. So that is the only answer that would make remote sense. Yeah. It can't be B, though, to get official results and understanding. No, the question, Delia, you have to look very closely at the wording. What was the prohibition motivated by? In other words, why did people go and put no swimming signs up? And this is why. They posted the no swimming signs as a result of several dead fish washing up. Full stop. That's it. That's all. So if you were able to catch that in the listening and actually note that down, when you're looking at your answer choices, you probably would have just picked that one automatically and moved on to make it faster for yourself to get through. Yeah. Don't ponder other results when you have the answer with 100% evidence in front of you, as we do here. So this is a specific detail question, the easiest ones to answer when they are given to you this way. Yeah. All right. We've done lots of reading and listening practice, lots of great foundational skills there. Can we now put that into play and actually produce the language? So this is a writing activity. I'll say, first of all, I sort of took a little tiny sample of writing from a real test taker's answer, and I revised it a little bit. I changed up some of the wording, etc. So what I've given to you here is a little mini response. It's not the full response, but I've corrected all the grammar mistakes. I don't want anyone here worried about grammar right now. I want to look to step vocab. So there are no grammar mistakes here whatsoever. And the ideas are also logical and the content's great. Okay. But what the problem is, I'm hoping you're noticing, is that the writer of this article, and this is what they did. This isn't me, this is them. They use that word local 4 different times. And when you're trying to score well on your CELPIP writing, one way to do that is to impress the rating team with a good variety of vocabulary words that you know how to use well and accurately. Okay, so the question, by the way, is we had to write to the chief librarian to simply request that the library be open 7 days a week. That was the whole purpose here. So this is from a writing task 1. It would be an email to the chief librarian. So I'll go ahead and just read this out loud to you for flow. And as I'm doing that, can you please start to wonder or come up with your own sense of how you might revise the wording here? We want to find synonyms and paraphrase the writing here ourselves so that we don't have the word local 4 times. So that's your job as I'm reading it to you. And we can share some ideas here in the chat box in a second. Okay. It says, I'm writing to request that the local public library remain open 7 days a week. The local library is a valuable resource for the local community as it hosts conversation clubs and activities for children. After discussing the current situation with some of the local residents, I believe there is a great interest in having the library open every day. Okay, nice organization, nice content. Ideas make sense, but it's just a vocab thing. That's the weakest part of all the skills we're looking for. It's the vocab, it's too repetitive. Can we just look at that top line, just the opening line? Is there another way we could say local public library that doesn't actually use the word local? Does anyone have a suggestion maybe? A community public library could. Yeah. Zaid, I condensed this for time. I didn't bother with things like subject and greeting and sign off. Yeah. I just wanted us to focus on vocab. So you're right. On the real test, you would say, Dear Chief Librarian, sure. But let's not worry about those things right now. Let's just focus on the vocab itself. Yeah. Okay. Community library. Good. Town library. Sure. You could say town library. That would work, especially if you lived in a smaller city, maybe. Can I make a suggestion? Can we maybe just name the library? What's the name of your library? Mine is the Vancouver Public Library. What about you? Anybody? Is there a Toronto Public Library? Maybe. Your ideas are wonderful. Like community library makes sense. But I will say right now quickly that another way to increase your vocab score on the test is to be as precise as possible. And if I was to say community library or Vancouver Public Library, ask yourselves, which one of those two examples gives us the most information? And it's this one. It's this one. This would be the best way to go. So anytime you have a precise name, go ahead and use it. That's what I would do. And then you can save all of your wonderful suggestions like community and neighborhood and so on for the middle paragraphs, because we still have more revisions to do, right? So I think the top line is best with the name of the library. And then down below, it says the local library is a valuable resource for the local community. Oh, I've already used the word community. Some of you had suggested. I think one of you said neighborhood. Could we do that for the neighboring community? For the, I think I went ahead with surrounding community, something like that works. Notice I just removed the word local from the beginning of that second paragraph. I didn't feel we needed it at all. So the library is a valuable resource for the surrounding community, and on you go. I decided to leave local at the last example because now we haven't used it anywhere else in the response, so it's okay to use. I mean, it's a great word choice. We just don't want it 4 times. So sometimes it's just a matter of playing around with your words, and however you state that idea up here, try to paraphrase or come up with different words to express ideas later on. As I said, the more variety you can demonstrate, I think the better for your vocabulary score anyway. All right, we don't have a ton of time, but I did want to touch on just a handful of little grammar points too. I know we focus mainly on vocab up until now, but grammar is another foundational skill that we need to really start building up in order to produce language quite well, especially on your speaking and writing tests. So I think sometimes recognizing your verb tenses, which is the time frame of a question and the time frame that you're directed to speak about in a response, is really going to help you to clarify your ideas and score better. Also, when you're speaking or writing, once you've nailed down your details and your vocab, we do also want to add in these transitional phrases in order to connect those ideas smoothly. If we have more flow, if we have more coherence, we're also going to score well. So these skills apply to all aspects of language learning, but let's look at them as they apply specifically to both speaking and writing on CELPIP. Okay, this is taken from a speaking task 3. Now, for those of you maybe, again, not quite familiar with the CELPIP test, in your speaking task 3, the instructions are always the same. And I've got them right up top there for you. They say to describe some things that are happening in the picture below as well as you can. And you'll get a little picture. Now, this picture is not a real CELPIP test question. This, I gave AI a prompt. I asked it to create for us a picture in an airport lounge with many people and so on. And the reason I prompted it to give us a picture is because I know some of you have probably seen a lot of our free webinars and taken some of our free tests. And I just wanted to give you a different picture today of something you've never seen before, so that it gives us a more authentic practice. But whatever picture you get on your real test will be something similar. You'll have usually 8 or 9 people in a busy location, to put it mildly. So from the grammar points here, we're asked what is happening. So describe some things that are happening. So what this is forcing us to recognize is that whatever we talk about based on these people's actions below, we have to copy or imitate that exact verb tense that's demonstrated in the instructions. This is called the present continuous or the present progressive. And we use always the verb to be. We use are for plural actions. We use is for singular actions. And then we always follow that with the main verb and an ing ending. So this is the verb tense that I want you to apply as you are speaking aloud on your test to describe the scene. And the way I'd recommend we do this, and we can do this in right now, as a matter of fact, you're going to pick a starting point. So when you start your answer, I always like to give an overview statement. I might just say, many passengers are checking in for a flight in a busy airport. So I might just give a very general statement to start, but then this is where your answer really takes off. So pick a starting point. I've decided to group those 3 people to the right as one. And here's what I'd like to do. I'll give you the sentence starter and I'll lead you up to the action. Can I have some of you think about the action verb and place it right into the Zoom chat box when it comes to you? There are many ways that we can describe what's happening, but I'm trying to get our thinking caps on, as it were. So I'm going to start with that little boy. You can see him at the very right-hand side of this picture. I'm going to refer to him as a red-headed toddler. I'm trying to use vocabulary that's really precise and interesting. There is no other red-headed toddler in the scene. So when I say that, people will know exactly who I'm talking about. So how about this? A red-headed toddler is, and now I throw it over to you. What action comes to your mind? Look at what that kid is doing and see if you can come up with something accurate, but also a little bit interesting if you can. So a red-headed toddler is, what is he doing there? What ideas come to your mind? We want an ing action. Remember, the instructions are giving us the blueprint for our actions. Yeah. The red-headed toddler is waiting, Delia has it, for his father to finish having his luggage checked. Yep, fantastic. See how you connected both the young kid there and the dad? That's what I like to do too. Try to draw people in together. That's one way to do it. What else might you say? I did one thing right before in my mind. I wanted to bring in that female attendant and then get to the dad. So in my mind, it made sense to say something like, a red-headed toddler is hiding behind a ticket agent who is standing to the right of the luggage security scanner. I'm trying to bring them in first. And then what is she doing? The airline employee is, she's got something in her hand there. What is she doing? The airline employee is, what's she doing? Checking. Yes, Ayush. What is she checking? What is that item in her hand? The airline employee is checking the passport belonging to the young boy's father. And now we get Delia's idea, who is waiting to lift his suitcase into the machine. So this would be a more intermediate approach, right? You are connecting three people in a scene. They're all their actions all kind of come together to tell the story. So I think that's enough said about them. There are other things you probably could have said. So rather than checking the passport, as Carolina says, the attendant is holding the passport in her right hand. There's many different ways you could go about it. As long as your description is accurate, that's all you need to worry about. And once you're finished with them, you probably would just work yourself across the screen. So here, maybe we could say in the background, right? Just to anchor the scene. In the background, let's start with the male passenger. So what is he doing? A male passenger is, so here's where you want your ing action. What is he doing? A male passenger is, what does that look like to you? See back there against the window, I see some sort of a gray thing. How would you call that? Oh, maybe he's greeting the woman. Sure, I didn't think so. I thought like the woman to me looks like she works for the airport. I thought the man was the passenger and the woman was the attendant, but maybe not. I don't know. It's up to you, as long as your idea makes sense. I was thinking that he's about to walk through one of those body scanners that I see at the airports. Again, this is my personal experience. I fly a lot. I travel a lot. And I'm always one of those lucky candidates that get selected to go through those body scanners for whatever reason. So that's where my mind went. I'm thinking in the background, a male passenger is stepping into a body scanning device while a female security employee is gently guiding him by the arm into the center of the machine. That's how it made sense to me. Let's see what you had to come up with here. I think Bonfast as well has it the other way. So I could see that. I mean, the male passenger in my mind is wearing a blue shirt. So maybe he is the employee and the woman is the passenger. I mean, that would make sense if you wanted to flip it. So if you said the man in the background wearing the long sleeve blue shirt, might refer to him as the employee, is requesting that the woman with long red hair step out of the lounge, right? So that would make sense if you're looking at it in the reverse fashion, I guess. Yeah. Javier, I don't understand the Spanish. Sorry, if you could put that in English, that would be wonderful. Esta means to be. Something to do with a metal detector, right, Javier? I'm guessing. I'm using context clues. Is that something to do with the metal detector? Maybe, I don't know. You can come back to us. But that's the idea. What does James have? In the background, a flight attendant is guiding an elderly male passenger into the body scanner. Okay, he doesn't look too old to me. That's my only hesitation. He's got dark hair to me and he's pretty spry. So I think you could just remove the word elderly. Otherwise, it's a bit inaccurate. But otherwise, I thought that was pretty good. Pretty good. Okay. And then last but not least, you probably have time to describe this part of the scene. Maybe that young girl, she's got pigtails, right? So a young girl in pigtails is, what's she doing there with her backpack? Can we bring that in? She's got a green backpack on, but we want an action. So what do you do when you put your backpack on if you wear one? Can you try to connect to this personally? A young girl in pigtails, she's the only one with pigtails, is the young girl isn't checking the gate, I don't think. A young child wouldn't check the gate. Her mom might. I don't think the young girl would, though. See the young girl in pigtails? She's the one in the shorts there, on the very right of the circled section. Yeah. Okay. I was thinking if I wanted to really go for precise vocab, here's what I was thinking. Rather than holding the straps of the backpack, Delia, can I get fancy on you? Rather than holding's accurate. But a more interesting word is a young girl in pigtails is hoisting. Do you know that word? Hoisting means to lift. She's hoisting her green backpack more comfortably onto her back and is looping her fingers through the front straps because it's a heavy bag. So again, I'm just thinking of all the times I've traveled with my heavy backpack. That's what I do. Put it on my back and I kind of jump it into place and hold it tight. So that's where those ideas for me come from so quickly because they're true for me. And I'm just relaying them onto that young girl. So holding makes sense, but hoisting is just such a more interesting, precise vocab choice, right? Yeah, good. And so James is using that word now. Wonderful. The young girl in pigtails is hoisting her backpack onto her back. Rather than and, can we say while her mother with the yellow suitcase is smiling at her or is waiting for her to walk to the gate or whatever you want to say about that is fine. Waiting for them to be called to weigh the backpack. Now you have it. So we're connecting all the dots there. That might be it. You have 60 seconds to tell your story, basically. You might not have time to talk about everyone. Probably you wouldn't. But if you had time, you could maybe finish off by saying what this woman's doing. And I think that's kind of what Marianne was talking about. So after you've talked about that young girl with the backpack and is waiting with her mom to check in, you might just say that a blonde female ticket agent is sitting patiently at the ticket counter behind the mother and daughter, waiting for them to arrive with their luggage. So it sort of just ties the whole scene in together. Anyway, you can play around with this. Honestly, if you use our CELPIP practice test, you'll have lots of pictures there that you can practice with the grammar structures and the vocabulary. But you don't even need a CELPIP image, right? You could look at any image at all, whether you want to ask AI to create one for you or whether you have a book or a magazine, right? Just get your hands on an image that has about 8 or 9 people or actions going on and really try to build the scene, try to connect the people kind of bit by bit. You might go back to front, you might go left to right. Today we went right to left, but really focus on that ing action. So this is where your grammar is integral. You have to show you've understood the task by describing what's happening. Okay, so with that, I will turn the screen back over to the lovely Christina, because I know she has some final words as well as a giveaway for some courses. I will take some questions as well too. If you have any questions about vocab or grammar, I am more than happy to do that.
Hello again.
Hello.
Thank you so much, Brandy. As always, very insightful tips. So thank you so much. And I think I heard that you were saying that it was your birthday recently.
A little while, about a month ago. It was a milestone birthday, which means a big one that I celebrated quite well.
Nice. Well, happy belated birthday, even though it was a month ago, but still, we need to celebrate life. So, all right. So, thank you everyone for staying with us. As I mentioned, I'll be just now talking about the CELPIP preparation courses that we teach at ILAC. And I also left a comment in the chat for those who haven't had a chance to fill out the form. Again, remember that at the end, we will draw a name for a winner for 1 week free of our CELPIP preparation courses, okay? I see that some of you have already filled out the form. So if you haven't, you have a chance now to do it. While now I share my screen and talk about the CELPIP exam preparations that we offer at ILAC. Okay, I'm gonna just go now ahead and share the screen so you can see the presentation. I think,
I don't see it yet. I don't see. Oh, there it is. Perfect. Okay.
All right. Awesome. Great. So what you see right now on the screen is actually the attendance form, right? So for those who want to participate in that draw for a chance to win 1 week free of ILAC CELPIP preparation courses. So it's a very short form. You need to fill out the first, last name, email, your phone number or WhatsApp number, and then make sure that you select CELPIP demo lesson, right? That's the demo lesson that we attended today. All right. Why would someone take or choose to take ILAC's test preparation courses? We have exam expert teachers, flexible schedules. We'll talk about in-person and online classes as well. We are resuming the online classes, affordable prices, and of course, exclusive promotions. All right. So for those who are based in Toronto or Vancouver, we offer in-person classes in the evening. As you can see here in the screen, schedule goes from 6 to 9:30 p.m. from Monday through Thursday. So you could choose to come on that full-time schedule or semi-intensive schedule where you would come Monday through Thursday, right? Or you could also choose a part-time schedule, Monday and Wednesday, or then Tuesday and Thursday. Now, you can also see which skill we teach each day, right? So for those who are looking to focus on more specific skills, such as reading and writing, you would come on Mondays and Wednesdays. And those who are looking to improve their listening and speaking skills on the CELPIP test, you would choose Tuesdays and Thursdays. Again, in the same schedule, so 6 to 9:30 p.m. All right. We are located in downtown Toronto and downtown Vancouver. And again, part-time would be that you would come twice a week. So 2 days, either Monday and Wednesdays or Tuesdays and Thursdays, or then semi-intensive schedule, you would be coming 4 days per week. All right. In that same schedule, 6 to 9:30 p.m. Okay, so that's the option for in-person classes, anyone who is interested in taking up CELPIP preparation classes in person on site. And that's actually a picture of our campus here in Toronto, by the way. I'm actually located in Toronto, but as I mentioned, both locations are located in downtown Toronto or Vancouver. In terms of the promotions, so we have two amazing promotions that you could choose from. The regular fees that you can see here. So if you choose a semi-intensive schedule program, so again, 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, the price is $190 per week. And if you choose a part-time schedule, then the price will be $130 per week. So again, part-time, you're coming twice a week, and materials are provided. Now, in terms of the promotions, you could choose between these two promotions where for every 5 weeks, you get 1 extra week for free, 1 additional week for free. So you pay for 5, but you will study for 6, or you pay for 10 and you study for 12, right? So that's the first promotion of getting additional weeks for free for every 5 weeks that you purchase. The other promotion, which is an amazing promotion, by the way, is that you get the test for free. So when you book 8 weeks on a full-time or semi-intensive schedule or 12 weeks on a part-time schedule, ILAC covers the fee of the test, which after taxes, it comes to a little bit over $333. So it's a good savings there. Okay, so those are the two promotions for anyone who is interested in studying with us in person at ILAC Night School. For those who cannot make it for in-person classes, or maybe they're more inclined into the online preparation courses, we offer them, as I said, online in this schedule. So 7:30 to 9 p.m. Toronto time, which is 4:30 to 6 p.m. Vancouver time, Pacific time. Okay. Classes go from Monday through Thursday again. So it's exactly is the same curriculum as the in-person course, though because this is considered a part-time, as you can see, it's only 1 hour and a half each day, 4 days a week, versus our like more full-time program at night. But we still use the same curriculum. However, the cycle is longer as it's a part-time schedule or program. So then it's a 12-week cycle, and students can start every week. Okay, the minimum level required is level 10 pre-advanced. So again, 1 hour and a half of classes every day from Monday through Thursday, from 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Toronto time, or 4:30 to 6 p.m. Vancouver time. And same as the in-person classes, you could choose to come on that full-time schedule, if we say it, so 4 days a week, or you could choose to come twice a week. Again, Monday and Wednesday, we focus on reading and writing, Tuesdays and Thursdays, listening and speaking. Okay. So you can actually see here the fees, right? So if you choose the 8 lessons, 6 hours of classes per week, you will be coming 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Regular price is $100 per week. The promotional fee that we have right now is at $70 per week. Okay, for the 6 hours lessons per week. If you choose a more part-time schedule where you could choose reading and writing on Mondays and Wednesdays, or then listening and speaking on Tuesdays and Thursdays, price drops to $60. Okay, so you can decide what's the best schedule for you. And again, this is for online CELPIP preparation courses. What else do we offer? So we offer also free trial lessons at NetSchool. So if you're more inclined to the in-person classes, but you're still hesitant if you should sign up with us or not, do not hesitate, reach us out, and we can book a free trial lesson. Okay, so you can come and try one class for free, no charge, and then you will decide whether if you want to register for the in-person or maybe online classes. Free online demo lessons, the same as tonight's demo lesson. We will continue to offer those bi-weekly. So we offer these Zoom webinars, 1 hour demo lessons once a month. And then we also do Instagram lives. Okay, so please do connect with us, follow us on social media so you can get all these resources available for you. What else do we offer? So we are offering also a referral program for you. So if you might not be interested or you are not looking for any preparation courses for you, but you know someone, a neighbor, a friend, a family member, a cousin, a partner who might be interested in taking up some CELPIP preparation courses, as long as they register in our CELPIP in-person classes or CELPIP online classes, we give you $100 Visa gift card. Okay, minimum 4 weeks booking for that new person that you refer to us, and then you get that gift card. Okay, so this applies for every new student that you refer to ILAC. If you want to come and see us in person, we will be more than happy to meet with you, show us our facilities, give you a campus tour, and again, book you for a free trial lesson if you want to do so. We are located in downtown Toronto, so 425 Bloor Street East on the 4th floor, and also in Vancouver in our downtown location at 1168 West Cordova Street. Okay? And you can, of course, email us at info@ala.com, or you can also scan this QR code that brings you to our WhatsApp so you can connect with our team members via WhatsApp. Okay, so I'm going to just leave the screen here for one moment. So then I allow everyone to maybe take a screenshot of the QR code if you want to connect with us via WhatsApp. Or then you can also, as I said, visit us in person, or you can also email us at info@ala.com. I'm going to just, I think there were some questions here. So let's see, Toronto, it's free. Hamdi, I mean, the free trial lessons, yes, we offer free trial lessons. For the course fees, no, they are not free. There are some fees to sign up for the classes. However, we do have promotions, as I mentioned, right? With either additional weeks for free or the free test, right? When you book a minimum weeks of in-person classes. Yeah, absolutely, Jeremy. So we offer online courses as well. Let me know if you want me to go back in the slides so then I can show you the screen again. What I will also do, I'm gonna just leave my email here. So anyone who has any additional questions and wants to take this offline, if you have any questions, just please also email us or email me. I just left my email there in the chat. And I'm gonna just leave the WhatsApp number, right? So this is for WhatsApp. So to answer Jeremy's question, yeah, we also offer them online. And of course, absolutely, you can take up those CELPIP exam preparation courses from anywhere in the world. Just remember that we teach them from 7:30 p.m. until 9:30 p.m. Toronto time, which is 4:30 to 6 p.m. in the West Coast. Can I access this video afterwards? Yes, Jonathan. So thank you for your question. So this session is being recorded. We will upload it into YouTube. We will also send you the recording to all the attendees here. So in case you want to rewatch it, you can always do so. All right. If a person is only writing, how much is the cost? So let me just go back. Ayush. Sorry if I don't pronounce it correctly. Ayush. Right, so for you're looking for writing. So writing, yes, so you could do it online. And then if you focus on writing, you will be choosing these part-time schedule options, so 3 hours of classes per week, so Mondays and Wednesdays, okay, in the same schedule. So let me just go back here. So 7:30 to 9 p.m. Toronto time, or then 4:30 to 6 p.m. Vancouver time, right? So you could choose the skills that you want to focus on. So reading and writing, we teach those on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then listening and speaking Tuesdays and Thursdays. Same with night school, same with the in-person classes, right? So here you can see it, reading on Mondays, writing on Wednesdays. Okay, I'm gonna just go to the chat again. Only for writing, how much is the cost? Oh, in terms of the cost, sorry, Ayush. So in terms of the cost for in-person classes, you can see down here. So if you choose a semi-intensive schedule, in your case, most likely you would be interested in a part-time schedule, right? So you will be focusing on reading and writing only. So then the price is $130 per week, and materials are provided as well. And this is for in-person, and for online classes, the price is $60 per week. Okay, let me just see another question. Focus just on CELPIP. Yes. So Carolina, we focus on CELPIP exam preparation. That's right. In terms of the levels, I'm just receiving a direct message here. Ali is asking if there are different levels for the classes. So yes, so students, they need to be at a certain level, so level 10 pre-advanced, in order to be eligible to enroll into the CELPIP exam preparation courses. Okay. And then Salome, for first timers, what I would advise you first is to come, if you're in Toronto or Vancouver, come and try our class for free. If you haven't taken up any exam preparation, I would advise you to focus on the 4 skills. You really need to learn about those 4 skills. And then again, you could just register for 1 week for the 4 skills. And then if you find that you're stronger in one set of skills, you can just go and switch for part-time schedule, right? So as you can see here on the screen, again, if you were to choose let me just close here the chat. If you were to choose the the full-time schedule, right, for the online classes coming Monday through Thursday, but then you decide that you want to focus on specific skills, you can, of course, change your booking and do part-time, right? So Monday and Wednesdays, reading and writing, and then, as I said, Tuesdays and Thursdays, listening and speaking. So you're more than welcome to choose your booking. But again, if I were you, I would take advantage of our free trial lesson that we offer for at ILAC Night School. Again, those are for in-person classes, right? So then you can make that best choice for yourself. But you're more than welcome to always change the booking. Thank you again, Brandy, for your support and for your amazing tips and insights. And thank everyone for tuning in tonight. As I said, we will upload this video onto YouTube and we will share it with everyone. So you can always watch it at your convenient time. Thank you. Have a lovely evening.